Fractal design is known for being clean, simple, and elegant. Clean and Scandinavian design, so to speak. But when you have to answer to the market's demand for RGB, which admittedly is rather tacky in some cases, how does it all come together? Fractal has decided to do this by ditching the trends and try to do all that RGB AIO business slightly differently. And the result, well, is this. This is the all-new Lumen S24 RGB, a 240mm AIO that undercuts the KRAKEN X53 RGB in price and slots in just below the Fractal Celsius AIO in Fractal's water cooling lineup. And in my opinion, it's special because it's a tad bit classier than most of its competitors. Obviously, Fractal sent me this unit for review, but I'm not obligated to say anything good in particular, and they've had no creative control over what I'm making of with this video. Let's start off with the performance, because it's important, but we're getting it out of the way first because in the context of AIOs, let's be real, it's more about aesthetics and compatibility in small cases or with high RAM more than anything. Because if you just wanted pure performance for the best price, a big beefy tower cooler will do you much better in both noise, thermals, and, well, value for money. That's not to say AIOs are bad, because AIOs have many advantages, which I will talk in my AIO versus air cooling video in the future. The S24 is a 240mm AIO, although there's a 360 and 280mm version, aptly named the S36 and S28, and comes with two of Fractal's new RGB Lumen fans. Now, I would test noise levels and testings with noise normalization, but unfortunately, I don't have the equipment or the space. I can tell you right now that they do run very quiet, especially in Fractal's own Define 7 compact case. Pump as well is pretty quiet too, and it's mounted in the radiator, which means that if you mount this radiator in the front of your case, you don't have to worry about the tube being, well, tube side up. And it's also quite quiet too, unless of course you are running it at maximum voltage, which it really does need to at most default fan curve. It's only got one pump, and the water block has a copper base, though I doubt the average consumer would care. For testing, I compared the Lumen S24 to a Scythe Fuma, a rather high-end tower CPU cooler, and a Wraith Prism, well, stock AMD cooler on a 3700X limited to 100 watts on PBO. Limited selection, yes, but unfortunately that's all I have now. Subscribe and help me grow the channel so maybe I can have more extensive tests in the future. And yes, the Lumen does perform well in this situation. With the same fan curves and the Scythe having the advantage of having two extra intake fans in the front of the Fentex P300A test PC, the Lumen managed to beat the big tower cooler by a good 2 degrees. And the Wraith Prism stock cooler by 5, all while having less fans in the system in total than the Scythe system and the Wraith Prism system, and also being about as quiet, if not more, than the Scythe. So performance is definitely up there. Now let's move on to what you really buy an all-in-one water cooler for, which is the looks. And damn, is it really, really gorgeous. The key thing here obviously is RGB, because it's Lumen, like illumination. But unlike most infinity mirror designs, which admittedly at this point have kind of gotten quite overdone, the water block has a diffusion plastic piece that diffuses the lights to make it a soft glow on the water block rather than a defined, reflective, sharp image like on the NZXT KRAKENs and a bunch of other stuff. I like it. It's clean, it fits Fractal's Scandinavian design heritage, and the glowiness is a bit more of a pleasing look than a very defined, sharp LCD glaring in your face. I think this looks better than even Fractal's own Celsius, despite also being RGB, and is a nice choice. The glowy water block is accompanied by the Lumen RGB fans, and they help light up the case to whatever color combination you like. And if you want to make it look like a rainbow road, you can, like now. The RGB block and fans are all addressable and are compatible with pretty much any company's RGB software, so long as that company doesn't make AIO. So companies like Razer with the Chroma software, ASUS's Aura software is supported. The list is pretty long and it's pretty substantial. You don't have to use any software if you don't want to, which is a bonus. The water block is all black as well when the RGB is off too, because of the diffusion material being special. So if you don't like the look of the water block lighting, it can be all black and stealth if you don't like RGB. I also do appreciate that unlike some of its competitors, it's reasonably simple with no must-use software and no annoying extra cables that I have to deal with, like USB cables or SATA power. In short, I really like the look of this. It's properly standout, ironically by giving you a subtler, calmer, and less standout vibe to the rather in-your-face RGB trend that we currently face. Build quality of everything in here as well is excellent, and the materials are all good quality and assembled to the fit and finish you would expect from a Fractal design produced thing. The tubes are braided as well, which is nice looking and help prevent leaks, so that's good. And I attached to the water box via these swivel fittings for easier maneuvering, which is pretty much industry standard at this point. Speaking of which, mounting this cooler is about as easy as it gets. For Intel, it's a standard screw-on backplate system, but for AMD AM4, it's a super easy clip system that is kind of similar to using the stock ref cooler, but it requires you to screw down to tighten the clip. But it's really much easier than many of the other AM4 CPU cooler mounting systems, especially for all-in-one water coolers. And I like that it's 2 clips and 2 screw downs. It's really, really easy. And if your meager infantile brain that's made of slime is unable to process how to mount the CPU cooler, which I think is quite obvious, you can always refer to the brightly colored manual full of textbook-esque helpful visuals and graphics that definitely make it easy for you to understand. To aid with compatibility, you can also daisy chain the fans as well. So if your broke ass has no money for a high-end motherboard, you don't have to worry about not having enough fan port. It also makes plugging everything in just a 2-cable affair. Fan power and addressable RGB. Awesome, convenient, neat, and a boon for cable management. If there was something negative, however, about this, it's that there is pre-applied thermal compound instead of just a separate tube in the box. This is convenient, I guess, for people who don't want to apply their own thermal compound, and it's also good of a cost-cutting measure for FRACTAL. But it also means that if you mess up the application or you need to reinstall the cooler, you have to buy your own tube later on. So if you plan to do that or you're scared about messing it up, make sure you buy an extra tube of thermal paste along this cooler, so that if you mess it up, you have thermal paste and you don't have to wait for it to come in the mail. Either way, it's conclusion time. The question is, should you buy the Lumen S24? Now, this is a very competitive market, so I won't say it's a definitive yes, but I would say that it's definitely a very good option that you want to keep in mind if you want to get an RGB all-in-one water cooler with RGB fans. At 188 Singapore dollars or about 140 US dollars, it's definitely competitively priced, and I really like how it looks with its clean and glowy design, and it definitely doesn't fall short in the performance area either. So it's pretty good and pretty competitive, and as such, is definitely something you want to keep in your AIO CPU cooler watch list the next time you're building your PC. And with that, that's it for this video. Now, this is a very special video for me for a few reasons. Number one, I'm using a teleprompter for the first time, and well, I kind of like it. Do you guys like the whole vibe of this video? It's a lot smoother to present. If you did enjoy that, make sure you tell me in the comments. Number two, this is the first time I got to review something pre-release and got to drop the review, well, the same day as basically every other big tech reviewer that got it pre-release. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. Thank you to FRACTAL, and thank you to the audience for making it all possible that I'm able to do a day one review. So thank you guys. And with that, I'll just say thank you guys for all the support so far. The channel has been doing really, really well. So let's try to hit 10K ASAP. That will be an awesome, awesome thing. Either way though, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, you found it helpful or you found it interesting, make sure you like and subscribe and comment, you know, the usual YouTube stuff. But if you have any questions you want to ask, you can ask away in my Discord, linked in the description. Or you can also follow me on Instagram, because my feed is pretty nice. 再见.